And now it is time to introduce the first speaker. And it is my pleasure to introduce Margarita Sanz de Rio. She is the technical partner director at GitHub. Margarita, are you with us?
Yes. Hi, Anton.
Hi.
Well, thank you so much, first of all, for the opportunity to be here today. It's very exciting to see the content, the speakers, the demos. I know some of the speakers, and I know the content is going to be very, very much high quality content. So I'm very much looking forward to it. And yeah, I'm very excited to be here. As you were saying, well, little bit of introduction here. My name is Margarita. I'm coming from GitHub. I'm technical partner director, and what that basically means is that I work very closely with partners like Software One, across the globe on everything GitHub. So making sure that you guys know how GitHub is evolving, how our products will be changing, what things are new, and that you're ready to provide the best quality services and solutions for your customers. So working very closely with the delivery team and with the strategy team and making sure that, we land the same messages and that we help customers together. Okay, good. So with that, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to start with the presentation here. So what I want to talk to you about today is a little bit of Copilot, right? Everything that you are probably hearing about Copilot, about GitHub, about artificial intelligence and how we're evolving, right? There's a lot of news, there's a lot of good stuff coming out, and sometimes it's hard to keep up with everything that's going on. So that's going to be my session today. I'm going to start with, well, you already know about me a little bit. I'm based in Madrid. I've been in GitHub for 2.5 years already. And kind of my background is everything, app development, DevSecOps, cloud, and artificial intelligence. So here's where I'm landing within GitHub. And going, into the content straightly, I want to first of all start with you with a little bit of explanation of where GitHub Copilot is actually heading. But before we do that, I think it's important that you understand where we're coming from. Maybe for some of you it's new, maybe you've heard about it, but you haven't yet worked with it or played with it before. So this was phase one of GitHub Copilot, right? This is how GitHub Copilot started. It started as a coding assistant, a query tool that helped developers be more productive by bringing answers and solutions closer to their working environments. We basically wanted to make sure that everything that developers needed was right there, sitting next to them within the IDE. However, it was mainly based on three things, what we can see here. It was only a model. It was a conversation about the code sitting next to the developer in that IDE. And then you could see a little bit of AI working its magic, right, behind the scenes. Now, in this setup, the developer was basically in control of everything. And how AI or how Copilot was playing its role is the developer could ask Copilot specific questions when they were unsure about something, instead of going to a different platform, instead of going to the web browser, or instead of going out there and asking another peer. Now, all this has changed. This was only the first phase. And as AI has evolved and as models have become more complex and more sophisticated, it was important for Copilot to evolve as well. So developers no longer want to explain every single question to Copilot, which is what happened before, right? Before, it was really important the context that you were giving to Copilot to make sure that the answers that you were getting were high quality. Now, developers expected Copilot to anticipate their needs, understand the context, and be more autonomous. Now, if you've been keeping up with our latest releases, actually very, very latest, like this just happened last Friday, you've probably noticed this shift with everything that's going on. And in this new phase of Copilot, we're not seeing Copilot just a tool, a single model sitting next to the developer, but more of like a multi-model solution. We want developers to have options that fit their exact needs, and that cannot be achieved with just one model. So we're no longer talking about conversations, we're talking about agents. Copilot has stopped being reactive and limited to the prompt that the developer was given it, and it has become proactive, anticipating next steps, understanding more deeply, And now context becomes less critical because Copilot is also better at capturing its own context from the workspace. It's now the foundational layer on which the rest of the developer experience is built. Now, we're not thinking about this magic of AI coming together after the fact, but actually AI is the base of everything, right? Is where everything starts. And so if we talked about the future of development and how GitHub and how Copilot is seeing the future of development, what I can tell you is that the future is multimodal. Just like it's hard to commit to a single cloud provider, it's also very hard for one single LLM to cover all the use cases of your company or your team. What will set you apart is knowing when one model is better fit than another model, and having a tool that, of course, allows you to use them, the different models, all without sacrificing your team's productivity, without your team needing to configure extra stuff or going to different platforms. Everything needs to be right there for them, but give them enough flexibility to make sure that we're meeting their needs. So let's talk about these latest releases. With GitHub Copilot, the most advanced models are just a drop-down away, as you can see in the picture, within your favorite IDE. And this is exactly where we're investing for our customers, for our users, making sure that the latest versions of your favorite LLMs are available to you almost immediately after they've released as GA. So we're partnering very, very closely together with all these companies to make sure that this collaboration, right, that these features are available as soon as possible through GitHub Copilot. Also, as technology continues to evolve, Copilot couldn't remain just a chat where you ask what changes to make in each specific file, which is what the first experience looked like. That has changed with the new multimodal edits feature, where you can ask Copilot for a new feature, a new functionality that you need within the code, and then let it make changes to the backend, front-end, tests, documentation, everything from one single prompt. So now Copilot becomes a lot more powerful. This was another big release that we just made. But that's not all, right? At GitHub, we believe that the future, actually the present now, is agentic. And AI can just be something that sits beside you waiting to be used. It needs to be your default way of working. It should be in every line of code you write, simplifying your life, making you more productive, reducing time to production, and enabling your engineers to do what they do best, which is creating genius solutions and the things that truly set you apart in the market. And I don't know if you saw the blog posts that were published like last Friday, as I was saying before, but this is now a reality for all Visual Studio Code users. We have released what we call agent mode, which is now in GA for Visual Studio Code, and you can start using it no matter what GitHub Copilot license you have. So this is very big, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into what agent mode means. So what does this include? Everything I've told you so far, multimodal, multi-file edits, and more in just a single configuration. This is what the agent mode is. Agent mode is like having another developer sitting next to you, making all the needed changes to deliver the business outcomes that you need. It understands your intent, let's say improving the user experience, for example, and it can review its own code and make changes to its changes to ensure the best possible result. So you don't have to iterate through it. It's actually Copilot itself who's going to be iterating through the results and the prompts that it's giving you. And it can even detect errors if your code and fix them if it sees you have tests set up in the code. So Copilot is now able through agent mode to understand whether you have already tests configuring your source code, and then as it's delivering new code based on the feature, based on your prompt, it can go through those tests and iterate and fix anything that may be broken to make sure that all your standards are met. And so how we're thinking about this and why all these changes are coming, basically what we're saying is that Copilot is now elevating the developer to the role of an architect or maybe even the CTO of the code. The goal becomes to understand the technology behind tools like GitHub Copilot and where and how and when to use it to make the most out of it. Now Copilot will be able to handle everything else when it comes to making the actual changes to the code. And before we move forward, before I end the session, before I end my part, I wanted to show you a little bit of, how this experience looks like. Probably you have already heard a lot about MCP. For those of you who haven't servers, this is basically a new protocol that has been released that allows you to connect any source of information, any source of data with your favorite LLMs, let's say in our case Copilot. And I want to show you how that looks like when you are connecting Copilot with GitHub and asking through this MCP protocol, and then with this agent mode, ask him to make changes that are available in an issue. So let me go to the demo here. Let's see how that looks like. So here I have an example repository with an application that it's named Skyscope. This is a weather application where you basically can, ask for the specific weather given a city. So I'm going to type here Madrid. I'm going to type get weather. And here you can see that the information is kind of okay, but definitely the weather is not in Celsius. Like we have good weather in Madrid, but not like that. So that's something that probably as a developer I need to fix. So first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna configure this MCP server in my Visual Studio Code. And you can see now that there will be this option in your admin menu. And how this configuration looks like, it's basically a very simple configuration file where you just specify the package for that MCP server, in this case, the one that connects us with GitHub. And then you just provide a personal access token to make sure that it can connect against your source repository. So we're going to start the server, and then with that, we'll have the environment ready. And you can see it because if you go to the chat in Copilot with the agent mode, you can see now that we have all these options from the MCP server. And here it tells you a little bit what it's going to automate for you. So now from that chat in Copilot, I will be able to, list issues, list commits, search code, create pull requests, a lot of things without needing to go to the platform itself. And we're going to see how that looks like and how that can help us. Now let's go back to the source code and let's see what do I need to do as a developer, what my plan looks like. So here I have an issue description with a little, like some changes that I need to do with my code, right? First of all, you can see in the title that I need to update the temperature to show in Celsius. Definitely wasn't showing, but there are also a couple of new features that I need to add. I need to add the visibility field, and I also need to add the snow percentage field. And if you can read through the issue, you can see that I'm actually not specifying any file within the repository. This is just business value, right? This is business outcomes that I'm expecting out of my code. So now we're going to use the agent mode, and we're going to use the MCP server to ask Copilot to apply all these changes to my source code without needing to edit the prompt, because basically that issue is the prompt. And you can see here that I just added the link to the issue. Copilot was able to read that through the MCP server, so I don't need to go back and forth anymore. And when it comes to, defining the plan, you can see how it's already identifying that I have a views.python file where it needs to update the temperature to show in Celsius. It also shows an index HTML where it needs to update the front end to include visibility and snow. It's also updating the tests, and it's also updating the documentation. These are some of the changes that Copilot, through the agent mode, without me needing to provide any extra context, is already able to identify. So I can just go file by file, see the changes that it's making, accept them, and then move forward. Next thing that I want to do is I want to make sure that all these changes are in a new branch and that I'm going to commit them, and eventually I will raise the pull request. I can do that from Copilot chat directly because I have the MCP server, which will allow you to just directly run the different commands and then move to the right branch. You can see down in the left side of the window how I'm in the new branch, snow visibility fields. I'm going to sync that branch, and I'm going to use Copilot as well here to create the commit message and then stash and commit my changes and move forward. Next thing that I can do through the MCP server is that I can actually connect with the platform itself. So after we check that actually the changes have been made and that the code is working, we're going to update the issue. So we're going back to my code spaces, checking the right branch, and then opening the application again. And I'm going to see now with Madrid again if the data is showing correctly. And you can see how it's working. It has updated the Celsius degrees, so now I can actually understand how the weather looks like. I have to say this was from a couple of weeks ago. Now it's looking way better. And you can see also how now I have the visibility field and how now I have the snow percentage field. So that was agent mode without me really needing to do anything within the code, just the context of the issue, and then the agent mode through Copilot that was able to gather all the context needed. Next thing is I want to make sure that I update the issue with the comments that I made. I want to keep track of all that. So I'm going to just use the MCP server there so that it's already identifying some of the commands that it needs to run behind the scenes. It's going to ask for my confirmation there. And if we go back to the issue itself, you see how it has updated it with more detail than I probably would have done as a developer, because I hate documenting, no matter whether it's a README file or whether it's the comments in an issue, right? So here, I leverage Copilot to summarize everything, and then MCP server to directly connect with the platform. And then the next thing that I want to do is I want to raise the pull request. I can also do that through the MCP server. It's one of the fields that it's, that it's available for me. So I'm going to ask it to commit everything that's available in this branch, and then raise the pull request directly from here. And I want to make sure that the issue is linked to the pull request, because when I'm closing the pull request, I want to see the issue there. So you can see how the issue was created. You can also see down here how the issue was linked here next to the pull request with the latest comments that I updated in the issue. And now everything will be ready for a peer to approve my pull request and then move to production. So this is just a sneak peek of what is possible with very, very little intervention on my side, where I'm becoming the CTO, where I know what are the opportunities that Copilot, MCP servers, and this technology brings me. But I'm actually letting Copilot to make all the changes for me, where I'm actually saying that they are working. So I'm being more productive and being more effective, and I'm using that technology right the way that I need to use it. And with that was a little bit. I'm gonna go back to the presentation, but that was kind of it. I don't know if there are any questions that I can answer right now, but yeah, basically the feature is AI, and it's AI native, and this is where GitHub is coming to and kind of from. And I know the other demos that you're gonna see today are very much aligned with this, so stay tuned. Anton, back to you.
Thank you, Margarita. Thank you. Thank you for the insights. We will see more presentations and demos of Copilot in Visual Studio Code. Thank you for the example with the weather. It's the hottest topic of the day in Ukraine. We suddenly have snow in April, so 12 degrees is a dream for us right now. Thank you.